Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time, Sunday night. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Lovely to have you in. We had the day off from Titans practice today, but that doesn't mean that we still don't have a lot of things from Saturday's practice to talk about. And, got enough feedback over the weekend about, why aren't you talking more about the quarterbacks? Why aren't you talking more about the quarterbacks? Because, the second and third string quarterback situation is, of course, the most pressing at any given point. But I understand that people want updates from time to time and that you haven't got a ton of them through 3 days. So I think that's what we'll do tonight. We will talk about the position battle behind Ryan Tannehill, and we will discuss the idea of potentially 3 quarterbacks on this active roster. How real is it for this team and for other teams to explore the possibility of it as we get closer and closer towards the regular season? We will do this as a free site. The best thing that I saw on the internet this weekend, some good stuff to get into from that later on, especially if you're a Titans fan who likes to see the Colts actively imploding. That has been basically the theme of the weekend, is the Colts. Holy hell. But you'll have to wait until the end of the show for that. Before we get started, I need you guys to share this broadcast around on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. If you're hanging out on Twitter, please retweet the show. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen is how you do it. If you're on Facebook Live, you can share now to public in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. YouTube or Twitch, subscribe to the channel, throw a like on the video. We would be grateful for you that way as we talk about the case for 3 quarterbacks on the Titans active roster and maybe a little bit of Colts crumbling to end the show. Let's go ahead and start. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Superbook Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. If you're new to the show, welcome. And proud as always to be presented to you by the wonderful people at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, TrueMath Fitness has all the great benefits of the open gym, of personal training, and of group fitness classes. All kinds of great membership options at TrueMathFitness.com. And Superbook Sports. Download the Superbook app, plug in the promo code ATOZ, and they'll match your first bet up to $250. That's promo code A to Z in the Superbook Sports app. So 3 days of training camp with media out there. There have been some days where they've continued to work at the facility. We haven't necessarily been out there. All these different things that have gone on. And for a lot of you, offensive line has been something that you want to learn more about. You get Chris Hubbard in the building. George Fant signs with the Texans. I think that's been I don't think that's been a transaction that we've talked about on the primetime show. I think I wrote about the Fant situation on Friday morning, if memory serves. But I think that when you go through all the different things at camp battles, things that people continue to bring up to me that they aren't hearing enough about, or at least that enough people have reached out to me via Twitter or Threads or Instagram or whatever the case may be, asking about different things at practice. You want more updates on Levis and Willis, and specifically on Levis, because, to be completely transparent, he's very much the third string quarterback, and that's all well and good. And, in terms of the amount of attention that's going to be devoted to a third string quarterback versus what's happening with the pass rush or the front seven versus the Titans' new offensive line group, what Ryan Tannehill looks like with DeAndre Hopkins, with Traylon Burks, how the secondary is responding, how things look at the inside linebacker position. Third string quarterback is just not something that's going to, 3 days in, garner a lot of, it's not something that we're going to spend a lot of brain power on because, third string quarterback situation. But you understand that this is going to be important for the team's roster math. We're several weeks away, over a month at this point, away from any kind of roster cuts being made. So it's okay to kind of, as Coach Mack says, keep your powder dry. But I think that when you go through all the different situations for the quarterbacks, you understand, all right, Levis being the third stringer so far, first week of camp, has plenty of opportunity to prove himself or to secure that position, or for Malik Willis to secure that position and make the decisions harder on them. You understand that these are things that are going to be pretty commonplace and a pretty common part of the conversation around the Titans quarterback situation. Take Ease says, bro, LOL, the show has literally already been done. They went through this when the rule came out. Yeah, but the difference between now and when the rule came out is that there's an actual quarterback battle that you can talk about. So now, once we talk about the rule, we have the opportunity to talk about how the rule is applicable. And this is a particularly unique instance for where the rule is applicable in the regular season. The spirit of the rule, and I'm sure Takeies and whomever else would agree with this, is going to be for the postseason more than anything else. And this is something, if you've listened to that show, then you understand that this is a rule that's going to be most applicable for the postseason. JJ Henry says Tyler Rowan said that Levis is number 2. You'll have to forgive me. I have no idea who that is. That's not somebody who I'm familiar with on the Titans beat. I don't believe that's somebody who, that's not a name that I recognize it being at practice on a regular basis. And, I don't mean that to be dismissively. I just have no idea who the hell that is. And, what grounds they might have for Will Levis being the number 2 quarterback, because that's just not the case. There's only 3 days of practice. I've been at all 3 days of practice. I was at every practice during the spring, and every time that these quarterbacks take a snap, Willis is with the 2s and Levis is with the 3s, and that's fine. He's welcome to, again, you guys are welcome to stack these quarterbacks however you want to stack these quarterbacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're entitled to your opinion. All I can do is give you the context of what I have the opportunity to watch every day. So you look at everything that kind of you look at how everything kind of is transpired through these first couple of days, and you understand that Willis and Levis on the second day, neither of them were particularly sharp. I thought Willis looked a lot better yesterday than did Levis, and I think there's plenty of reasons why Levis kind of looks the way that he does right now that are totally explainable, fine for a rookie quarterback in his first week of training camp, and also something that you guys want to know more information about at this stage. Captain Trips says, are they wearing full pads tomorrow? Vrabel didn't say specifically, but they have yet to do full pads. So I would assume at some point this week they are going to don the full pads. But I don't know specifically as tomorrow. I'll be able to tell you because the radio show will start, and that will be 30 minutes into practice. So by the time you tune into the radio show, you will literally be able to hear the pads popping if such pads are being donned. But as you look at the position battle between these two players right now for the backup quarterback job at this stage, that's the genesis of this conversation. I'd like to start with your Two Rivers Ford take on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. How many quarterbacks should the Titans keep on the active roster this year? I understand it's early. I understand that some of you have had the opportunity to go to practice yesterday. Saw a handful of Titans fans out there. I think practice is going to be open to some fans tomorrow, so that will be interesting to look at as well. But I think that when you look at the quarterback situation, the argument can be made one way or the other. And again, it's very early, so this discussion can change. We can have this discussion several more times between now and the time that roster cuts absolutely have to be made. So how many quarterbacks should the Titans keep on their active roster this year? Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. It's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it is made possible by the wonderful people at Two Rivers Ford. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service, and 40 years serving Middle Tennessee. Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet, powered by Ford, driven by people. So as you look at the quarterback situation, Levis has had a fine start. He's been, I think, inconsistent. Malik has had a better level of consistency than I would say, compared to his rookie training camp. So that is an improvement unto itself. And when we talked to Mike Vrabel prior to these first 3 days of training camp practice, when Mike opened training camp with his introductory press conference with us, and then we talked to DeAndre Hopkins and Rand Carthon with his 2 assistant general managers, all of that on Tuesday of last week. The question or a question was asked about Malik's progress, Malik's development, specifically to Malik. And I thought Mike Vrabel gave you a pretty informed answer.
Joint practice. Yeah, I think that we're conscious of that. Again, I thought Malik came out of the spring with clearing improvement. Will's learning what it goes into being an NFL quarterback, and then certainly the consistency that Ryan showed in the offseason and his willingness to pick up new terminology with the offense and some of the stuff that we were doing. So, again, feel good about where we're at. Can't have too many quarterbacks hopefully they're all good ones, and that we have tough decisions. But it was fun just seeing the guys improve, and then seeing where we go now starting tomorrow.
So that is Mike Vrabel talking about the glaring improvement made by Malik Willis. Now, listen, glaring improvement can be good enough. It can end up being not good enough, right? That's at the start of training camp. Glaring improvement does not necessarily, it doesn't guarantee a roster spot. It doesn't mean that he's the quarterback of the future and that he's just complicated things for Will Levis. Like, all it means is he's made glaring improvement based on his performance in the spring. And so Rand Carthon was on the radio show. We asked him about that glaring improvement, how he would contextualize that for fans. You can go back and listen to that full interview in the podcast feed of the radio show. I need to find out who, actually, as I think about that. I haven't texted anybody from Titans PR yet to ask who the player is going to be on the radio show tomorrow. But as soon as I have that information, I will let you know. But as you look at the glaring improvement made by Malik Willis, you can tell that his composure. So, for example, on Saturday, threw an interception to Rashad Weaver. Weaver made a nice play on the ball. It looked like one of the tight ends was the intended target from the position of my vantage point on the sideline. I didn't necessarily see the tight end where he was, but again, I don't want to act like Malik Willis just threw it to a defender without there being anybody intended on the pass. It just, from my vantage point, it was difficult to kind of see who the intended receiver was. Went over down the field to talk to one of my colleagues, Teron Davenport, as a matter of fact, to kind of ask him. Teron kind of clarified from his vantage point. He was standing further down the field. I was standing behind the play. Teron was in front of the play. So anyway, Willis throws an interception to Rashad Weaver. Now, he comes back the very next play and makes an incredible pass down the field. I can't remember the wide receiver who caught it off the top of my head, but made an incredible play down the field. Did not get shook, essentially, by making an interception. Practice interceptions, they're fine, but you obviously, you don't want to make mistakes. But you understand that practice is the place for you to make mistakes and then improve upon those mistakes or identify where the mistake was made so you can correct it for the next rep. So Willis is in a situation where even something as incremental as how he responds to the next play after making a mistake is going to be hyper scrutinized. And I asked Mike Vrabel about that on Saturday after practice. And Mike's answer was, yeah, basically that's kind of embodying where the approach that we like that he's taking, right? He's not getting discouraged by making a bad play. He goes out there and makes the next play, gets the huddle together, gets his teammates back on track, understands that, all right, that play didn't end well. On to the next play. This is the next opportunity for me to improve whatever it was that I missed on this first rep or this third rep or this fifth rep, however many reps they were in. The question comes back down to how many quarterbacks should they keep on the roster heading into 2023? And, I think this is the best example, and we've talked about this before. This is the best example of a team to consider keeping 3 quarterbacks on the active roster in the regular season. I don't think for the vast majority of teams it makes sense. This team is in a particularly complicated quarterback situation, and one that is, of their own making, and one that they've been looking for a solution in the past, not just this offseason, but 2 off seasons at this stage. And if the quarterbacks on the roster force them to make a difficult decision, then I think that's kind of what you want. You want a heightened level of competition. You want the decision to be harder on the coaching staff. And I think the harder the decision becomes, the more likely you are to keep 3 quarterbacks on the active roster. Like I said, it's July the 30th. They've had 3 days of work on the field with us able to watch them and kind of analyze where they are. Things will change. Progress will be made. People will take steps back. People will take steps forward. Like, as I said, it's a slow burn at this time of year where everybody's very, very excited to have it back in your lives and to get as much information as humanly possible. But as it develops right now, I think it's fine, the idea of considering 3 quarterbacks on the roster, because Levis hasn't beaten Malik out for the backup job. Until such time as, if that happens, then you can have a more concerted conversation about, all right, do you really need 3 quarterbacks? But as long as Willis continues to maintain his position ahead of Levis, then I think it's fine. You know, they may have to get creative with the roster math, and it's not an ideal situation, but I think it's fine for them to keep three quarterbacks, even as you understand how vital those 53-man active roster spots are going to be. A to Z Sports Primetime is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of Remax Advantage. Go to GaryAshton.com. Get your dream address without the stress. The intel edge you need to succeed can be found at GaryAshton.com. So as you look at the quarterback situation, um, I think that, you know, there's no disputing that Ryan Tannehill continues to be the best quarterback out there, that Willis and Levis are working through the consistency situation that they have. And you'll hear from Will Levis, as a matter of fact. I caught up with him for about 2.5 minutes after practice to get some good video for you guys, to give you his own assessment of how his camp has gone and what it's like to get back into the swing of things. But I think at this stage, Willis continues to maintain that spot. That is a position battle that will be ongoing, just as the right tackle position battle is ongoing, just as the corner competition continues to be ongoing. There's not that many spots that are up for grabs now that the offensive line, I think, is probably the thing that has the most potential for continued tinkering. Because right now, you know, it's tough to learn anything about them, but what we've seen so far has not been the results have not been overwhelmingly great. Full pads, maybe it tells a different story. We'll see what happens with the offensive line group. But for the quarterbacks right now, you understand that through 1 week, status quo is maintained. Tannehill, Willis, Levis thus far. All right, so let us get into a conversation about which one of them has more to prove, though, right now. Malik Willis or Will Levis on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. As I mentioned, you'll hear from Will Levis here in just a second, right after I remind you that TrueMath Fitness presents the Primetime Show. Go to TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident, or to find out about all their great classes, all their personal training options, and their facility itself. Conveniently located in the Gulch in downtown Nashville, TrueMath Fitness is the best place for you to get the best version of you. A new way to work out is what TrueMath Fitness offers you, whether you take personal training like I do, whether you go to their group classes. I go from time to time. I started out going to the TrueMath group classes. It just works better for my schedule now to do the personal training. And also I enjoy that individualized approach. Whatever and however you like to work out, TrueMath Fitness has you covered. Your first workout is free at TrueMathFitness.com. So who has more to prove right now between these two quarterbacks? At this point, Will Levis says Eric Castillo. He's the forgotten one. Lewis says Tannehill. We didn't include Tannehill as an option, but if you think that Tannehill has more to prove, you're welcome to. Tannehill is an interesting conversation, right? Because Tannehill does have plenty to prove to you and to the coaching staff, to his teammates, to his next potential NFL landing spot, given that he is in a contract situation. I think Tannehill is an interesting discussion, but just between the two younger ones, I think at this point. Trippin' Titan says Willis totally, since he didn't look good. I assume what he's saying is since he didn't look good in his starting opportunities, in his first year of opportunities, and that is a fair argument can be made. Albert Calvin agrees with Malik. This has more to prove. Levis, a rookie, they're going to give him this season, just as they did give Malik Willis a season to kind of work these things out. William Anderson thinks Levis has more pressure to perform at this point, has more to prove. And I think, you know, like I said, a case can be made for all three of them, depending on how you want to look at this thing. But I do think, given that Levis is the third quarterback on this list, and that's probably on this depth chart right now, and that's probably not how he envisioned this thing necessarily playing out. It's probably not how most of you guys envisioned. And again, it's not played out yet. There are plenty more weeks of practice, preseason games, more joint work, right? That's going to come against the Vikings here, I think in the nearest term, and then the Patriots will be their final preseason game and a joint set of practices here in Nashville. I do think that Levis right now has the most to prove because, like I said, he's low man on the totem pole, and he'll have the opportunity to change that, or Malik Willis will have the opportunity to continue to hold on to his backup quarterback job. And the way that Will Levis has handled it right now, I thought has been spot on. It's been pretty interesting to watch the learning curve, but there's going to be a learning curve for every one of these dudes who's coming into the NFL as a rookie. How we feeling?
Feeling good. It's good to be back here. The little rookie mini camp we had went well, and now having the rest of the team out here, starting to get things clicking. Got a couple new additions too, a couple big ones. So, bringing them along, and it's good to see things coming together.
For you guys, I mean, obviously that brings those new additions, as you mentioned, that can add a little juice to practice from time to time. But as things start to settle in, have you guys maintained that level of competitiveness that's kind of become the standard?
Oh, 100%. And it's funny. Like I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, just like you'd think like we're playing a rivalry game out here every week. Like when we're in the locker room, it's all love and everything. But I mean, we're trying to win every rep while being smart. Playing the right way, especially without pads on right now. And Coach Vrabel's harping on that. But it's going out there and competing to win every rep, because I mean, a lot of these guys are we're fighting for roster spots, and the wins and the losses, they add up, and that's really what is what makes the coaches make that decision.
For you, where are you seeing the carryover from the spring, the way that you talked about?
Oh, I mean, it's been. I feel like I can see the bigger picture a lot easier now. Like in the spring, it was my first time going through everything, the first time learning the playbook and just the certain things that are asked of us at the quarterback position. So that was my first time going through all that, and pretty much everything that we're doing now, I've banked at least 1 or 2 reps of a lot of these different concepts and different either actions or drops or progressions. So it only gets better with repetition, and I think going from the spring to now, I feel a lot more comfortable. But there's still a lot of work to be done.
A bigger trash talker, Jeff or Arden?
Ooh, I think Arden, because Arden be talking in the walkthroughs like at night, like we're literally just like walking off the ball, not walking, but I mean slow jogging off the ball, and he's never walking, and he's yapping about something almost every play. So it's cool to see. He keeps the energy up even in those practices where, even though we're not throwing a ball or playing at full speed, we have to be 100% locked in. So it's good that he brings that energy.
So apologies for the wind out there on the practice field. I'm going to have to figure out a better mic situation. But Levis is I think is realistic about where he is. He is somebody who is very excited, very much enjoying the opportunities. And I think, something that I noticed that I'm going to continue to watch over the next, coming days and coming weeks, his touch on the ball, like when he's trying to layer throws or feather throws, depending on which term that you prefer. When you talk about layering a throw or feathering a throw, right? You're talking about throwing a ball into a spot in, say, a zone, or throwing it over the top of a linebacker, placing it, trying to put touch on the ball, not just accuracy in your ball placement, but touch as well, right? Change-ups as opposed to just darting it every time. Now, Levis can dart it at any point that he wants to. Dude's got a really, really powerful arm. So a lot of nice throws over the course of the last couple of days. But you see when he's trying to put a little touch on the ball, when he's trying to feather those throws into spots, he at least right now looks like he might be consistently underthrowing them. And sometimes you see him do this. Now, Chig, I think, made a nice play on the ball. The undrafted free agent running back, Trayshawn, I want to say it's Trayshawn Harris. I need to pull out my 90-man roster, because we're in the part of the year where I'm still trying to learn everybody's names. Who's gonna, who unfortunately many of them will end up cutting a month, but for the time being they're here, and you try to keep track as many of them as possible. But undrafted rookie running back made a nice play on a ball that was also underthrown. And you see what he's trying to do. And at least from my vantage point, it looks like he's continuing to try and feel those things out, which is fine that he's doing that in training camp. But it has consistently, it looks consistently like he's underthrowing it when he's trying to feel it out. So, those are corrections that he can continue to make. I'm sure his coaching staff has other talking points for him based on what they're seeing, because they have, different angles of all the different reps that these guys are taking. But just based on my vantage point, that's something that I observed and was talking to my colleagues about on the sidelines for the last couple of days. Bert has been kind enough to drop a link for a windshield for my microphone situation out there. So we will explore that, and I will make sure that we have better audio quality for these things moving forward. All right, so I think that Levis has more to prove, and I think that, another week they'll be out on the practice field tomorrow. It's my understanding that some of you guys will be out there as well, so that'll be fun. We look forward to seeing you. Okay, this is a free site. What was the best thing? One of the best things that I saw on the internet this weekend on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. I want to ask you the question: which running back is most likely to get an extension this year? We've talked about the running backs. We've talked about the deadline that passed for Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley to agree to multi-year deals as players who had the franchise tag placed on them. Saquon ultimately did not sign his franchise tender, but did agree to a one-year deal to try and continue to prove his worth. Which running back is most likely to get a long-term deal? The question that I think a lot of you are going to consider is going to revolve around the AFC South. If you've been paying attention to any of the news coming out this weekend, we'll get into it on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch right after I remind you that the Primetime Show is presented by Superbook Sports. Go to superbook.com, download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZ. They'll match your first bet up to $250. Nobody has better odds boost and promo bets than Superbook Sports. They will get you in on all the action of all your favorite major sports, whether that's baseball, the upcoming NFL season, college football, and everything in between. Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789. So, which running back is most likely to get a contract extension at this point? I don't know what the answer to that question is, but I will tell you the answer who it is definitely not, as many of you have already indicated. The answer, it does not seem like, is going to be Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, it was a dramatic scene last night. I was at Colts practice. There was, thousands of fans there. It was about to end. I got word that the meeting with Jim Irsay on his bus and Jonathan Taylor, star running back, was over. I knew that on that bus, the discussion was going to be the trade request that Jonathan Taylor actually put in a couple days before, presented it to Irsay, wanted to get a direct answer. So I was about ready to report what I ended up reporting, which was that star running back Jonathan Taylor requested a trade. And Jim Irsay was talking to reporters about 20 feet to my right, waited for that to end, then reported the story, and then saw all the reaction with Irsay then talking to Albert Breer from Sports Illustrated saying he did not plan to trade Jonathan Taylor. So that is where this all stands. So much discussion over the last couple weeks about the running back position. Jonathan Taylor wants a new contract commensurate with his abilities. The Colts, in a little bit of transition here, have not made an offer to him for a new contract. He then asked to be traded. They have then said they do not want to trade him. It is a standoff. It's a stalemate. I don't know which way it's going to go, but this is a relationship that is not in a very good place concerning the Colts and maybe their best player.
It's pretty wild to see what's playing out. And that's in the last hour, a lot of the Colts reporters, Stephen Holder, for example, sourced to ESPN, Colts running back Jonathan Taylor reported to training camp complaining of back pain that was deemed to be from a pre-existing issue. The team is now considering placing him on the non-football injury list, which could result in his not being paid for the regular season. I mean, this Jonathan Taylor situation has become very, very public, very nasty. And, for those of you who heard the radio show on Friday, you heard Derrick Henry's press conference. Derrick Henry taking up the cause of the running backs very passionately. Jonathan Taylor is obviously somebody who has been displeased with the discourse around running backs and is, somebody who is thought of as who will be in line for the next round of potential contract opportunities that running backs have to capitalize on their abilities and their gifts. And it seems to be going as poorly as humanly possible. Irsay is a different kind of cat for sure. His situation has been noted. I think that what you're seeing though is a situation that is going to continue to play out with clubs around the league. A running back will at some point in the future get a $12 million a year, $16 million a year contract. Again, those days are not completely over, and we'll see at some point, the next McCaffrey, the next Zeke, as he cashed in, right? The next Derrick, even though Derrick is a pretty singular player, right, in terms of the durability and the sustained excellence over time. All these different things. It is going to be fascinating, though, to see which running back and how long it takes for a running back to break through the stalemate that the position group is in with basically the entirety of the league ownership and basically the league's business model from an on-field standpoint. All right, it's going to do it for us tonight here on the Primetime Show. Great as always to be back in the saddle with you guys. Going to be a fun week of work. Back out on the practice field tomorrow. Certainly we will be out there broadcasting from 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone. As I said, I don't know which Titans player is going to sit down with us tomorrow, but the three interviews that we've done so far, Sean Murphy-Bunting, Brand Carthon, Tajay Spears, I thought they've all been good for different reasons. You can go check those out if you haven't gotten enough Titans content or conversation tonight. Going to have a couple articles up on the website at A2ZSports.com for you guys to consume before practice starts tomorrow, as a matter of fact. So look forward to those. And like I said, I will enjoy speaking with you guys at 10 a.m. live from St. Thomas Sports Park on 104.5 The Zone. See ya.
Are you surprised to hear that?
Certainly not. The first year we took it to the limit. And I was in Miami with my new beach house. Well, it was a couple minutes from the beach.
It's been 20 years since then. We haven't been too strong in the last few years.
Oh, we've been strong. We're just playing by the rules. You can't have a newcomer come in and steal a show.